Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Ann Minoff, a local president down in Broward County for 2024, and we are joined today by 2017 past state president of the Women's Council of Realtors, Florida, Gia Arvin.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And I also want to just quickly point out that she is our 2024 Florida Realtors president this year. So super, super exciting stuff today.
Thank you very much.
Of course. So wanted to give you an opportunity to give us an opening statement or introduction about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. So I was kind of born and raised in the real estate world. My mother started our company, Matchmaker Realty in Gainesville, Florida in 1984, but she had been a realtor since 1976. So kind of born and raised in the industry, grew up saying I never wanted to be a realtor, never say never. Graduated from the University of Florida and I taught school for 2 years in St. Augustine. And I applied to go to law school, was planning on going to law school at University of Florida. And my mom said, please don't do this. Try real estate. I promise you that it's meant for you. You'll love it. So she said, if you try real estate and don't love it, I'll pay for your law school. So she said 2 years was the term I had to agree to. So 6 months in, I was in. I mean, I was sold, loved the industry. And my husband, Scott, joined me 3 months later. So 9 months in the industry, my husband joined me, and we've been now doing this 21 years. I've been broker owner since 2020 when my mom passed away. Um, but in the industry, I'm active. I list and sell every single day. I sell usually between 80 and 100 transactions a year.
Wow.
So definitely in the trenches, know what everyone's going through on a daily basis, which I think is really important as a leader, because you can speak from experience, you can make decisions based on experience, which I always think is a positive thing when we're looking at our volunteer leaders.
I love that. I love that. So let's get started. So as the past state president of the Women's Council of Realtors, Florida, what major contributions would you say you made to the organization during your tenure?
So, Women's Council, first of all, is where I got my start, right? My very first leadership opportunity. So, when I had the opportunity to be on the state line for Florida, I didn't take that lightly. And we had a great team. We did a lot of strategic planning that was not just about 1 year initiatives, but kind of 3 year initiatives. So, on my team, we had Audrey Lackey was right in front of me. She's from Jacksonville. Right behind me, we had some amazing, amazing, amazing leaders. So we really put together a 3, 4 year plan. So I would say we really enhanced our what now they call as LEAP, but we had a leadership program that wasn't as organized necessarily as LEAP. It was more of a one-on-one mentorship. So we would partner somebody with a past state president and they would mentor them, hoping to get them into committees and an involvement at the national level. So really kind of enhanced our leadership identification and development program, if you will. Also, from our Women's Council standpoint, we built more even heightened partnership with Florida Realtors. So as you know, our conventions are already in partnership or in tandem, but we really saw that as a resource, looking at what speakers they were bringing in and what programs they were doing. What could we do to partner with them? And honestly cut down on our costs. As Women's Council, we don't have as much of a budget as Florida Realtors, but they bring in some amazing speakers. So if we can piggyback on that or offer a different subject. So we really upped our game when it came to speakers and education sessions. And then other than that, for us, it was about really organizing. We had just exploded membership wise. And that was amazing. That was a great feat. But with new members comes a lot of training and a lot of guidance on what the benefits of the membership was and how to get the most out of it, right? So we did a lot of statewide training on the benefits of the membership, which I think was very impactful because as you're looking at the dollars you spend, you want to know that where you're spending money is impactful to your business, right? And does
Great.
make a difference. So
Agreed. All right. So, how would you describe your overall leadership style, and how do you think maybe it differed from some of your predecessors?
I would say I'm a bridge builder. I'm always the consensus one. Where can we find the happy medium? Because I think in life in general, you have two extremes, but most people fall right in the middle, right? At the end of the day. And so I'm always that person to say, let's look at all sides. And before I react, I think about things from all sides. So I would say the most important thing you can do is recognize your strengths, recognize your weaknesses, or where you could develop a little bit more, and lean on the rest of your team. So, for instance, right now on Florida Realtors, I know that Tim Weissire is huge in the advocacy space. So I will lean on him oftentimes to take the lead when it comes to advocacy issues. Jeff Levine, he is amazing when it comes to MLS and forms. So I will lean on him because I know that that's his strength. So you don't always have to be the chief. It's okay to be the Indian as long as you know which Indian to put as the chief in that particular section.
It's so true. It's, totally playing off of people's strengths because, they sometimes in leadership, we get ourselves tripped up thinking we have to know everything. And
Right.
it really isn't. It's about the team that you have beside you and then or even whether you put together, or maybe they've been voted in extraneously by membership, but at least you know that you have different people that have different skill sets that you can really kind of lean on, which is fantastic.
100%. You're only as strong as your team.
That's right. So, what types of challenges did you face during your presidency in Florida, and how did you address them?
I kind of alluded to it a little bit. We exploded membership wise, which again is a great problem to have. But with new members comes a lot of just internal processes that have to be really brushed up on and maybe improved. So when we were trying to grow our leaders, we needed to say, we have all these new members that need guidance, training, support. They're coming to Women's Council because they get lost in the shuffle, maybe at their associations. And it's a smaller venue for them to feel empowered, embraced, and grown. So we really just amped up our leadership training and really talking about partnerships and mentorships. We ended up adding an extra DVP that year, as well as we don't have them anymore, but governor. We
Yep.
added another governor that year because it was very important to have as many support as possible out on the street and out at our local level. So just recognizing that that was a huge issue for us and understanding that the way that we get over that hurdle was more manpower and understanding that that was an increase in budget, right? That was an
Mhm.
increase in training. But without that, we were going to step 3 steps back versus 5 steps forward. So
Yeah. Awesome. So, what was your vision for the future of the council within the state, and how have you seen it played out today in terms of influencing current programs, policies, and priorities? I know you've touched on some of this, but if you wanted to elaborate.
So I absolutely love the partnership that we have with Florida Realtors and our other institutes, societies, and councils, because Women's Council is a strong, amazing force. We do grow amazing leaders. And so with that, I've seen so much of a blend over into leadership at our board level and at the Florida Realtor level. I'll tell you, the first time I ever went to a Florida Realtor meeting as a chair for Florida Realtors, I was chairing board leadership forum. And I show up the first day with my own agendas printed. I typed up my own agendas, printed them, had my own notes ready, and they kind of laughed at me. I'll never forget that. The staff liaison for Florida Realtors, and they said, we have your agenda and your notes right here. All you got to do is execute. And I go, oh, well, I come from a women's council background where we're used to kind of doing that all of ourselves. So I'm good. I've got it under control. I'll take your notes, make sure I incorporate them. But what a powerful testament to Women's Council because they were shocked that I came prepared. And I know and I've seen other Women's Council members do the exact same thing. So I love seeing our leadership style bleeding in to Florida Realtors. We see people going up on the CRS, the CCIM,
Mhm.
all of those different ladders. But our foundation really has just branched out to every single avenue that realtors have. I also love the influence that we have now with RPAC. To me, that was a huge step forward. I was so proud of the Blue Diamond and when that came into play. We always had encouraged and pushed RPAC, but to have an organized system like that, I think is powerful. And then as well as, let's be honest, when it comes to elections and people getting elected at Florida Realtors, it's a huge presence on who has the women's council background,
Yeah.
who's invested into the council, and who has given their service there. the Women's Council supports their own, which I think is powerful and impactful. And Women's Council between our pack, future leaders, and overall influence, I think has really upped their game, and I'm so proud of them.
Awesome. And it's so true. I mean, even our pack, hearing some of those numbers, just of women's council members that actually are our pack major contributors, major investors, is fantastic. So it really is eye-opening. I don't think most people realize. So as we touched on before about mentorship, it plays a huge role in leadership. So what impact do you believe your mentorship has had on the council members in Florida, fostering growth and development?
So I hope that they see me as very approachable. I know that when I was coming up, I was intimidated when I went to my first Florida Realtor conference or Women's Council conference. It was these women were leaders in our industry. They really, blazed a path for us. And so I was very apprehensive at first until you got to know them. And then, of course, they were wonderful. But I hope that I'm approachable. I hope that I give constructive direction on where to go next, because I know oftentimes when you are trying to develop yourself as a leader or as a realtor, it's very easy to say, follow your passion. But yes, follow my passion, but what's my next step? I'm very logical, methodical. I want tools or guidance to take home and put into place that day. Like, go ahead and sign up for the LEAP program. That's where you need to get a good background. Next, maybe you want to look at the Florida Realtor Leadership Academy. If you've not signed up for a committee for Florida Realtors, where does your passion lie? Is it communications? Is it advocacy? What is it? And follow that passion and sign up for a committee. I like more tangible steps, but I think that's my personality. I'm very black and white in a lot of ways. So I hope that they see me as someone that really gives them specific guidance on what they're trying to accomplish, whether that's at home, with Women's Council, at their church, at their chamber, local chamber, running for political office, whatever that is. And that they know that they can come to me as a resource. I might not know the answer, but I probably know the person who does.
Awesome. So you touched on advocacy already, but can you further discuss any advocacy campaigns that you spearheaded during your presidency in Florida? What was the goal and was it achieved?
So from a Florida Realtors, we just vetoed Senate Bill 280, which was the vacation rental bill, which was huge for our realtors across the state. So that was huge. We also passed a squatters bill. So we were the first state to do that. And when I say that was a huge victory for Florida, imagine you have a property that you're renting out. It's for rent, it's vacant. Someone moves in and starts squatting, right? How do you get them out? Now we have something in place to make that easier for you. Same on the rental side. So I think that those two victories have been huge for us. And then when you look at the Hometown Heroes, as far as down payment assistance, we were able to get an additional $100 million in funding that's already been reserved.
Yeah.
I mean, we need more funds. So for the fact that actually that was approved during Christina Pappas, when she was president of Florida Realtors, that was when Hometown Heroes came into existence. Right. But now having that additional $100 million is a huge feat for us that we got accomplished. We have so much more to do, though. We're not done, right? So when we're looking at property insurance, all the different things that fall into property insurance and the look back periods, as well as flood insurance and trying to depopulize citizens, right? We have to depop citizens because right now we have way too many policies for them to carry. So lots of things moving ahead, but stay tuned because the next 3 years are going to be a lot of great things, hopefully, when it comes to insurance and affordable housing.
Right. And, I always talk about, especially with RPAC, we hear a lot of times where, give to RPAC, give to RPAC, and people don't really understand it. And if you really and we just came out of candidate screening season down here in Broward. And when you kind of help people, when you think about the whole advocacy wheel, it's all these different components that add up to why these, contributing to RPAC is so important.
I think for me, when you think about COVID, we were deemed essential right off the bat, right? So realtors across the country, they were out of work for 3 or 4 months in some states. We were within 10 days deemed essential. We were working, right? And so just that alone, when I talk to people about RPAC, they have no idea that that was tied together in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And so once they've connect those dots, they're like, wow, that was important. Because think about our real estate market in Florida was so strong during that time.
Right.
When so many people were really struggling, we were amazing. We were doing amazing as far as number of sales and prices and all of those things. So thank God we were able to continue to work.
So true. So, what key lessons do you think current members in Florida can learn from both the successes and the setbacks that you've experienced?
So we talked about one, right? You don't always have to be the chief. It's
Mhm.
okay to be an Indian.
Yeah.
I'm also a pick your battles. So I don't have to put my 2 cents in on everything. Because at the end of the day, if you're always the one that has an objection or an issue, they're not going to pay it as much attention when you really do have an issue or it really is important to you. So you'll find me oftentimes very quiet unless it's something that I'm passionate about or something that really is going against the grain of who I think we are as realtors. So I save my 2 cents for when it really counts. And when I speak up, they tend to listen a little bit more because they know that I don't rock the boat unless it's something I'm very passionate about. So I would say that don't always feel like you have to interject something just to say something. Sit back and say, is this hurting my industry?
Yeah.
Is it going against what I'm passionate about? And do I have something to offer that could solve the problem? And if that's yes, then speak up. That's why you're there and that's why you're in that leadership role. So think about your 2 cents. Also, don't stress about the past. A lot of people, do this coulda, woulda, shoulda. We don't have a time machine. And as leaders, we beat ourselves up a lot about what we could have done differently. What we can do is learn from that moving forward so we don't make that mistake again. But at the same time, don't get down on yourself. We don't have a time machine. We can't go back in time and change it. We can learn from it, but don't dwell on it because that is something I did a lot. I really should have done this. And I made myself really just anxious about it. I can't change it, so don't stress. What you can do is be a great, great, great mentor for the next person. And I would say that's the last thing is anytime that you're climbing up the ladder, remember you're reaching this hand back and you're pulling someone up. If we're not replacing ourselves with people better and brighter and more wonderful than we are, we're not doing our job because we have to leave the organization better than we found it. So we're there for guidance, but as a leader, when your time is through, the best thing you can do is support your future leaders.
Love it. Love it. So, how would you say your earlier experiences at the local level of your Women's Council network shaped your approach to then statewide campaigns?
So I was a realtor for 24 hours, real seriously, when someone came to my office and said, we have a women's council meeting tomorrow. I need you to be there. Can you come a half an hour early? I'd love it if you could help us set up. And I thought, well, what's this about? I don't know. I immediately got involved and I was the events chair. I mean, right out the gate. And I'll tell you that that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because of the connections that I made. Number one. Number two, I immediately had a tribe, people that were cheering for me, that had my back, that were constantly educating and pushing me. So I think that jumping in with 2 feet and then given my first true leadership role, um, really pushed me to say this organization is really about supporting each other, not tearing each other down, developing a different level of professionalism. And it was a huge support system. So I immediately wanted to get involved and became, my local president and then said, we have so much of an opportunity to be influential and impactful on the state level. Why wouldn't I want to serve and continue to serve an organization that's built me, built my business, right? Put food on my table.
Right.
And so that's honestly, someone said, have you thought about running to be on the state line for Women's Council? And it was Amy Worth, if you guys know her from Sarasota Manatee. I was DVP for Florida Realtors. And she said, you're going to run for governor. And I said, no, I'm not. I can't do both. There's no possible way I'm going to do both. She said, you can and you will, because you're meant for this. You're going to be, you're going to make a difference in people's lives. And I know that's what you're about. And she really pushed me to do it. And I'm very thankful because if not, I might not have gotten myself to the Women's Council side of the state level. I was just doing some Florida Realtor stuff at that point. And so I'm very grateful that she brought me back into the fold and reminded me where I came from, because Women's Council did raise me.
Love it. So, looking back at your journey from the local involvement to state leadership, what key lessons could you say that members could learn from those experiences?
Um, Definitely know your boundaries. So you can't always say yes. And which really, I don't know, it's very hard for me. No matter where I am, I feel guilty that I'm not the other place.
Mhm.
So when I'm at Florida Realtor stuff or Women's Council stuff, I feel like I should be home with my daughter. When I'm home with my daughter, I feel like I should be giving back to our industry and being serving somewhere. So I think that you have to decide what is your time commitment that you're able to give. What are you trying to accomplish? And then what fits into that? So it might be that right now you have young children, you're crazy busy, and all you can do is be a committee chair. Well, that's huge, right?
Yes.
And that's okay. That's exactly where you need to be then. So let us know what your passions are, or the leaders know at Women's Council, Florida Realtors, whatever it is, let them know what your passion is. So they can place you in the right place, and let them know where your area of expertise is. If you're already comfortable, a lot of us come from other backgrounds, right? So I taught school for 2 years. I wouldn't say that's a huge background, but some of us come from nursing, some of us come from insurance, some of us come from teaching. Well, we all have a background or a history that could probably help in some way our industry, placing you on a committee or a background. So just, let people know what that passion is and what your background is. Serve at the capacity you're comfortable with, because you'll get out of it more than you put into it if
Yes.
you're comfortable where you're serving. So that would be number one, probably. Number two, I would say don't give up. So a lot of people apply for a leadership academy or leap or run for an office and they don't get it the first time. That's okay. Think about it. At the state level, we have 242,000 realtors of Florida Realtors. And we have not even, what, 1,000 positions on all of our committees, something like that. So think about that. Not everyone is going to get to serve every single time that you put forth your application. And that's okay. What you need to do is learn from it, apply again. And it doesn't mean that you're not the best candidate. You might just not be the best candidate that year, right? So try again. It's no big deal. We all failed. The first time I ran for my local board of directors, I didn't get elected. And I was torn down. I mean, I was torn up about it. I was 23 years old. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I have my entire life to give to this organization. I'll
Right.
run again. It's not the end of the world, but it does feel like the end of the world at that time. Just try again.
Love it. It really is so true. And I think that a lot of people go through, we're all, if we're being honest, kind of all go through our level of disappointments here and there. But I feel like it happens at the right time. I feel like that even with Florida Realtors Leadership Academy, several years I had applied, didn't get in. But when I did get in, that was my group. That was the group that I was meant to be with. So when you think about it, it could be the same thing with sitting on a board. That was the group that was needed at that time. So it really is kind of it kind of just puts it puts some not just so much healing, but it just feels better to at least put it in a place where you realize, okay, if it's not this year, then I take the next year to up my game, be more competitive, enhance my skills, and then come back the next year. So
Yep.
it's very grounding. So, as we kind of close out our time now, and come to this last question, any sage words of wisdom, if I knew then what I know now, type of moments that you'd like to share with members? I know you've kind of already given a lot of advice at this point on certain things, but anything that comes to mind, or even a story or of some sort.
So communication is key in anything that we do, right? So when we're talking to different people, whether it's your people on your team, your leadership team, people on your committee, people on your board, you have to meet people where they are. And it's really easy for us to say, I don't understand why they don't understand this, or they need to be listening to me. We all come from a different background, a different walk of life. We all have different experiences that shape who we are. So the best thing that you can do is ask for clarity. Ask for, help me understand why you feel this way, before we react. Because I think oftentimes we immediately come in with a preconceived notion on what we think is going to happen. Instead, I want everyone, no matter what role they're in, to come into every situation with an open mind. Don't come in knowing the outcome or what you think the outcome's going to be. Because there has been so many times that I've walked into a room thinking that I knew exactly how I felt about something. But after hearing testimony and thoughts from other people that have a different perspective, I realized that maybe the way I was thinking is not what's best for our members. And so I just think that no matter how well versed you think you are on a subject, speak your mind, but always be open to new ideas.
I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough. You're one of my favorites for an apps for a reason. Um, love that other people are going to get to know you better, maybe that haven't, maybe newer members that don't know you already. But I highly encourage people to, um, tap G on the shoulder. She's very approachable, and would love for more people to get to know you better. But I can't thank you enough for your time today.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and find yourself a mentor. It's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks.